Hello, thank you for tuning into this week's section of readings. Or these readings are valid for whenever you come to them, but this current incarnation. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Ghost Tarot. If I can get it over in the right spot so you can see it. Artwork by David Cossey. Let me get my glasses on to read that one. Cozy, Cozzi, and there's websites in the back here, which I'm not even gonna. I think it's less great. Bleh. Nope, can't speak today, but they're right there. If you're interested in the websites, go for them. There you go. The Oracle cards, Sword of Light Oracle by Radley Valentine, illustrations by Echo Chernick. That's what this box looks like. And there's the website. Where's the website? Here's the websites I found in the book here. So feel free to freeze frame and check anything out there that's interesting to you. I think there's a Radley Valentine one in there, so feel free to check anything out that works in your favor. And last but not least, I use dice, 22-sided dice, substituting 22 for 0 for the Fool, and a 14-sided dice for the Minor Arcana, and I use a 4-sided dice to choose the element to dictate which suit of the Minor Arcana I'm going to use. It's from the Dice Shop, and the website is mathartfun.com. Hopefully you can see that if you want to. mathartfun.com. All right, with that being said, if you'd like a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thanks again for watching. Let's get into your reading. Hello, Scorpio. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. These readings are valid for whenever you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Scorpio? We got the Knight of Wands at the bottom. I don't know why I showed that, but we might find out in a minute. Okay, so I'm looking to regain the happiness I once knew. The Ten of Cups? Yeah. 10 cups. 10 of Cups. If I can move my finger away from the cup, you can see it there. So, what I keep feeling from this is that, like, I wouldn't say things were perfect, but they were very good at one point. And I was enjoying them at one point. I feel like I was kind of like, it was as realistic as it was going to be. It was very nice. Is this a person? Can we get, like, a little bit more detail about that? It wasn't completely perfect, and there was some random energy in it, but I kind of liked the randomness. When the random energy was here, could be business, could be family, could be a friendship. For a lot of you, I feel like it was a friendship thing. The craziness at the time, I had fun with it, I feel. Maybe my life was different, and I could do that more. And I feel like this is one of those things where I'm looking back, and I'm like, I'm not really sure I could go back to that time, but I miss it. And there's certain people or certain connections I would like to, like, even if I could just part-time do that, I would like to do that just once in a great while, just relive those moments. That'd be nice. To a point. Within reason. Within reason. Which might be just going down memory lane. Depending on what they were for you. And there's a lot of thoughts I have going through about this, but I'm not acting on them. And if you're not acting on them, there's a reason, of course. But I get that, like, I'm just kind of holding it. I'm thinking about it. Have I walked away from that completely? Do I have to walk away from that completely? Can I go back and revisit some of that? So it's almost like, living in a dorm maybe like X amount of years ago. It's kind of like, well, I probably wouldn't do that. I don't know if I'd want, well, I probably wouldn't do that again. But is there a way to kind of get that energy, something like that, connected with that without having the total experience, but that part of it, having that camaraderie, seeing people and being connected? Is there a way to kind of sort of recreate that? I remember, I just talked about living in a dorm, but I remember a lady, I don't know how common this is, maybe it's more common than I realize, people renting out rooms. Now I'm thinking about it, it's probably quite common. But they would rent out rooms, and then they would make friends with those people, and then that would become like a little makeshift family. It doesn't always work out that way. I don't know how often it works out that way, quite frankly. But it's kind of like a version of the dorm life without actually being in the dorm. And then if you own the house, you have control of like if that continues or it doesn't. It's kind of like looking at it like an upgrade, a little different, but something similar from the past. Something. Although I keep thinking back, I'm like, I don't think I'd like to live in a dorm again. It had its perks, but it also had its downsides, you know. What is coming forward? Like whatever it was in the past, I feel like I'm thinking about it, but I'm not really moving on it in the beginning. Because I'm like, I don't know, is this a good idea or not a good idea? And I feel like there's a lot of thoughts, whatever it is. There's a lot of thoughts. Is somebody else connecting with this? I got this. I don't want the conflict, but I keep getting something about I'm avoiding conflict, and I'm not really sure about what's coming towards me. I'm trying to avoid some version of conflict here. The card, you don't have the six, no, what is it? The Five of Wands. You don't have that out here right now, but I have this card, which is the Ace of Swords, and I have the Queen of Swords, kind of over here too in the environment. Somebody's trying to get your attention. Somebody is trying to get you to move forward on something. But I feel like I'm kind of detached from it. And the energy keeps coming towards, but other people are coming into it. And I see other people kind of doing stuff with this, and it's starting to seem real enticing. I do feel like I'm getting close enough, and I'm just barely connected, but I am staying connected because I'm kind of like, what is going on here? What are people doing? Because I like that idea. I kind of have some nostalgia from the past. I kind of would like to relive some of it, but I don't know about what they're doing. Maybe I'll just get a little closer just so I can have the intel, so I can make a better decision, or at least know what's going on. Maybe just knowing what was going on would be enough for me. That's interesting. What is this? The Five of Swords. But it's like this. It's not all the way in, it's not all the way out. The Hierophant the same way. To where, could this stabilize, or is this completely unhinged? Whatever's going on, I feel like the first thing I'm getting is remember that you're Scorpio. Which, even if you're a cross watcher or you're connecting to this reading and you're like, well, I'm not a Scorpio, you probably have some type of tendencies where the point is you're very strong, and if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. If you need to get out, you're going to get out. If you decide you're out, you're done. You're done. So you can explore this a little deeper. This could actually solidify and give you some more opportunities, and you get to decide what those opportunities are. The Ace of Pentacles shows up. A lot of times I equate it to planting a seed. But part of planting that seed is first you deciding what's being planted and where it's being planted. Are you planting it in a pot? Are you planting it outside? You know what I mean? Are you planting it in a flower box? Or where are you planting it? You know what I mean? And like, for example, if you plant it in a pot, it's going to probably stay there. And if you keep moving it all over the house, it might have some issues. But you still have the control to like how much it's going to go. Like if you plant a seed in a pot, sooner or later the roots will get bound, and it's only going to go so far, you know? So it's kind of like you do have control to like create something from this, but you also have the control to limit it to only a certain potential if that's what you decide is appropriate. That is interesting with the Ace of Pentacles, because that is true. Because it's kind of like it has to grow, but like if you have a pot this big and you put a flower in it, it'll grow just so big and it'll be nice, but at some point it will stop. It kind of reminds me of those spider plants. You know what I mean? Or some plants, they get root bound and then I think they expire. But if that's what you want, you only want to go so far and you want it to stop, you could also have control over that. The Chariot is coming in. There's something about loyalty. Is it in question or is it... This is a concern, I feel like, for you. Whatever the situation is, there's other people connected with what I keep getting. And if you do decide to move forward with it, people are going to get very bonded to you again. It could be the same people as before. It could be different people, but I'm getting like people... I feel like Scorpio energy is very infectious. And I feel like it's a very likable energy. I feel like when people drive with Scorpio, I feel like it's either you're in or you're out. I don't know. Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I feel like it's either you're in or you're out. It just seems that way to me. In the way you feel about them. And when you want somebody closer, you work to keep them closer. If you want them to go away, you get them away from you. I feel like that's a... If I'm wrong, let me know. You don't have to manage this, though. Because people want to be around you. You don't have to manage that. They're saying you don't have to do this. You don't have to make long decisions and think about, well, what does this person want? What does that person want? Remind them of why they're there and encourage them to manage their own situation. It's best for you and for them. So, you know what I mean? Whatever this is, I know I used like people renting out rooms. If you're renting out rooms and you're connecting with people and you're letting 3 different people rent rooms out of your house just for argument's sake, which seems like a lot to me, but if you're doing that, you don't have to like make sure that they're okay. You can encourage them to make sure that they're, you know, encourage them to do their own work. But you don't have to like worry about them like that. I feel like if it's Scorpio, I feel like you're going to have some type of emotional bond. But it's kind of like, you know, remind them to do what they need to do for themselves. You don't have to do it for them. I feel like Scorpio's good with that. Like you see something coming up and you like give them a reminder, like, you know, you got this thing coming up. You might want to make sure you take care of that. Oh, okay, good. If they don't, that's on them. There's something more with this. I'm trying to touch on it a little closer because there's something here about the history of the situation, clearly. You don't have to worry about people not wanting to do for themselves. Let them worry about that for themselves. If they fail because they don't pull it together, then that's them. Let them learn that. Because even if you did it for them, it has a shelf life. I feel like you know that. Even if you did it for them, you're only going to do it for so long before you're like, you know what, do it yourself or forget it. This isn't something, whatever this is, it's kind of like, whatever this is we're getting involved in, you're here for what you wanted. Worry about what you wanted. If they help you, help them back. That's cool. But like, don't worry about, you know, I planted my plant and my plant's doing good. They're not tending to theirs and it's not looking that great. Don't go tend to it for them. Maybe remind them like, hey, before it completely dies off, you could still save it if you do this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. Okay, then I guess you will. And if it dies off, that's their thing. Maybe it was meant to. Maybe it was meant to. If you're centered on what you want from this, that's what's better for this. You don't have to worry about tending to what they want. Sometimes I do think Scorpio gets involved with that. Ooh. These cards were face down. This situation, it may seem mean for you to be invested for some of you just in what you want. It's kind of like if they're not going to take care of their own stuff, that's their problem. But that may be what they need. They might need somebody there to succeed so that they have the contrast. It was just, you just had to keep with it for it to succeed. They didn't tend to it, so it failed. And they might need that contrast. They might need that harsh lesson. Some people need that harsh lesson. It's not so much about the situation was just going to fail no matter what you did. That's clearly not true because Scorpio was successful. And sometimes people need that contrast. Oh, you did your plant did everything you wanted. You planted the same thing I did. You did the same pot, you did the same room. Why didn't mine do what yours is doing? Well, I made sure it had enough sun. I pruned it. I watered it. I gave it, fertilizer when I needed to. If it was too cold, I made sure I covered it. If it was too hot, I made sure there was air going to it so it would ventilate out. I took care of my plant. I looked out for my plant. That's why my plant flourished. And then they're looking at it, well, I just thought, well, you're wrong. If you put in the work, this could be successful. It wasn't just going to fail no matter what. You had to put in the work. And sometimes people need that. Sometimes people really need to see that, not in a cruel way, in a sense of like, oh, this could have worked. I just didn't put in the effort. Or maybe that's what they need to learn. They didn't know what they were doing. That's another harsh lesson. It's not meant to be cruel. It's not meant to be mean. But sometimes when people get that, it helps them figure out what they need to do. It helps them figure out, we're not all meant to be gymnasts. We're not all meant to be writers. We're not all meant to be mathematicians. We're not all meant to be bakers. Whatever you want to throw in there. It doesn't make people better or worse of quality of person, whether you're good at this or good at that. We all have our own aptitudes. And it's kind of like, maybe that's one of the things they need to learn. They're following you a little too close, and they maybe are getting the impression just because you can do it, well, if Scorpio can do it, then I can do it. Maybe they need that lesson. Just because Scorpio can do it doesn't mean you can do it. Maybe it's not your aptitude. It doesn't have to be a cruel thing. I feel like people take that in a very harsh way at times, but it's not meant to be that way. Yeah, I hear you. What you learn from this might not only help them move forward, but it might help you really see how good you are at certain things. I've seen that happen with people. Sometimes when you succeed and other people fail, maybe you also think anybody can do it. And the truth is, maybe anybody can't do it. It's kind of like cooking. Certain things, boiling water is not that hard, granted. But making certain dishes, making like a sauce from scratch, I'm sorry, but it just seems like technically it may look like anybody can do it, but they just can't seem to pull it together. You might have an aptitude or a talent that just other people don't, and maybe watching other people go through this will help you realize you really are gifted at certain things that maybe you didn't realize. Are we good? All right, I'm going to shut this down here. Hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below. Same email. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.